This is an algae commonly used in refugiums, and it's called Chaetomorpha, or Chaeto for short. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at 3 benefits to having a refugium on your reef tank. Okay, so what is a refugium? A refugium is a separate section or tank that houses macroalgae and creates a safe place for organisms to grow and thrive that are going to benefit and help your reef aquarium. Now, the first benefit of having a refugium, probably the main reason to have a refugium for your reef aquarium, is to help with nutrient export. Now, growing algae like Chaeto down in a refugium is a way to help pull out nitrates and phosphates, because as the Chaeto grows in your refugium, it's absorbing and using the nitrates, phosphates, and the lighting to grow more algae. There's many popular refugium lighting options out there, but if you're reefing on a budget, you can definitely use one of those spiral fluorescent light bulbs. Those work really great. And you can use one of those work lights or terrarium lights that you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's or any hardware store as your light fixture. The light that I'm using currently is an LED fixture that I found off Amazon, and the light spectrum is more in the red and purple grow light spectrum, and it's LED, so it's going to last a lot longer for a refugium light. Refugiums are very easy to set up. All you need to get started is a ball of Chaeto algae. It's a spaghetti-like algae that grows together in clumps, and when you're adding it to your reef tank, you may want to rinse it out in a separate container of your tank water before adding it to your reef aquarium, so that you're not adding any nuisance, pest, or any tank water from another source to your reef aquarium. But once you have that Chaeto algae in your refugium, there's a few ways to keep it going. You can add a small little pump in your sump to kind of keep that Chaeto ball rotating and moving. However, if you're like me, all I did was add some rock and rock rubble and a clump of Chaeto to the refugium. Right now I don't have it tumbling around, it's just kind of sitting and floating in the sump, and that's okay as well, but every now and then you do have to turn it and move it around to kind of clean it up. Just remember, when controlling your nutrients like the nitrates and phosphates in your tank, physically removing the Chaeto as it grows is how you are getting rid of that nitrate. So as long as your Chaeto is growing, it's just holding that nitrate and phosphate in it as it grows. But grabbing a baseball or softball size and removing it from time to time is how you're actually physically removing that from your tank. Now, the next benefit of having a refugium is exactly as it sounds, a refuge for beneficial life in your reef aquarium. So you can create a safe place for copepods and amphipods and all kinds of life that's going to help eat away at detritus in your reef tank and help clean things up as they get dispersed amongst your tank. Now, to get your refugium started, you can always grab a bottle of Tigger pods or Apex pods from Reef Nutrition and kind of jumpstart that refugium by pouring in a couple bottles of copepods. Okay, so I took this clump of Chaeto out of the refugium so that we can check out what kind of life we got growing on it. You can see a small amphipod right there on the plate. But a refugium is a safe place to harbor for this type of life to grow. You can see another amphipod just fell out of there. But you can see that Chaeto grows in a thick mat, and it grows all together like this, and it's perfect for copepods and amphipods and bristleworms and little critters to hide throughout. There's one right there. So what I like to do when I harvest the Chaeto is I will pull out a baseball or a softball size clump of it, and I'll shake it off in the sump to kind of get off any amphipods or copepods that might be hiding inside it, so that way they can go back on eating and doing work in the refugium. And here's another little guy right here. You can see him moving around, but I'll get those guys back in the tank. But kind of shaking it off will help get any of those amphipods back into your sump, or back into your refugium, so they can keep doing what they need to do. And then taking the Chaeto out of your tank physically removes those nitrates and phosphates from your system. so you can physically see the nutrient removal from your tank. So that is a huge benefit from Chaeto. And that brings us to the third benefit of having a refugium, is as those copepods and amphipods grow and they get sent up and out into your display tank, they create a natural food source for your fish and marine life in your display. So you kind of complete that cycle of having a complete ecosystem in your reef tank, where you have a food source that has a safe place to grow and populate and then get redistributed amongst your display, and your fish and corals have food to eat. Now, when you do have your refugium all set up, one of the best things that you can do, in my opinion, is to have your refugium on an opposite light schedule from your main display. And what that means is when your tank display light turns off, your refugium light turns on. And one of the main benefits of doing that is it helps to stabilize your pH, because usually when your tank lights turn off, there's no photosynthesis happening. So carbon dioxide builds up in your tank and your pH starts to lower. Well, with your display light off and your refugium light on, it is keeping that photosynthesis process going as your Chaeto starts to grow. And while your Chaeto is growing and pulling out nutrients, it's also keeping your pH stabilized so that our pH isn't dropping below that 8.0 or 8.3 as much as we like it. So it kind of helps balance and stabilize your pH a little bit, and that's another great benefit to having a refugium. So if you're new to the reef aquarium hobby, I hope you learned something today about Chaeto and refugiums. If you like this video, I created another video that I know you're gonna love right here. So go ahead, click or tap your screen to watch that. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and commenting on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.